giving you some ideas about the kind of homework you can give a client between sessions. Then I might do that in terms of a training. So giving information, and that could be about specific resources for a client, so like homework sorts of resources. Now, that could very well be individually, just taking you aside and saying, okay, here's a book, and here, the ones I have marked here are where I started. That would be one resource, one way to do that individually. But I could also have a group of supervisees work together on developing and researching and sharing resources. And that would be a training session. Everybody bring theirs in and let's share them and do that together. Okay? Let me add one in here. When you feel stuck with a client, when you've taken a client so far and then you just feel like, I don't know what to do next, where would that be?
Consultation.
Yeah, I think it's consultation. Yeah. And what would you expect a supervisor to do? I'm going to ask you, Charlotte. What would you expect a supervisor to do when you were stuck with a client? What would you want them to do for you?
Give me some guidance based on their expertise and experience.
Okay. So guidance based on expertise and opinion, that sounds like consultation. Because it's like coming out of my brain and it's individualized. So that would be the kind of consultation that's why that would fit so well with consultation. Okay, I'm gonna train you in improving your application of interventions. Now, even if it's just one-on-one, it's a training, teaching sort of thing. Okay. Now, can you think of something else that you would want a supervisor to do? Yes. What's your name, hon?
Robin.
Robin. Okay, Robin.
Laws, if there are new laws or state regulations that
Okay.
you want to be aware of.
Okay. Now I'm going to put laws here to keep you informed about laws and regulations here. And then I would put applying ethics to a specific case over here. So, for example, last night in my supervision group, a supervisee brought in a thank you card that one of his former clients that he had terminated with 3 months ago. Terminated, but hadn't seen in 3 months. She sent him a thank you card, and she was telling him how much she remembered his illustrations and his interventions and how much difference they were making in her life. And thank you so much for your efforts. But she included in the thank you card now she dropped it off at the office, there's no address. She included in the thank you card a gift card to Best Buy. It's like, so what do I do about that? And so that's what we spent, and we started, we worked on applying ethics to that case, and then as the group, we came up with other cases that they were working with that we needed to apply the code to, and that's how we did that. And so it's both, so can you see that would be kind of like really in here? Kind of, that's why I call it the intersection. Well, this really can do fine without it, because it's almost dry anyway, so we'll find it. But I think we can get through with it tonight with it. Let's see. What else can you think of? What comes to your mind, Roderick?
I was just looking at the experienced ones in the back.
Ah.
Yeah, some great ones, but for me, I got lost at the moment.
What do you want your supervisor to do for you?
Give me a raise.
What's that?
Give me a raise.
Give me a raise. You see, now that's where the rub comes in, doesn't it? How about you Angela, in your second internship, what do you want from your supervisor?
Maybe to teach me how to, I guess deal with my own feelings, not counseling, but deal with my own feelings as an associate.
Very good. So we're gonna call that countertransference, would that work? So if you are having feelings about your client's feelings, that's countertransference, and that is how we work. We cannot work without recognizing and using countertransference. I have this big old nasty bruise on my leg right here, and I got it from running into a table for no reason at all. I mean, there wasn't any reason I ran into the table. It's not like I was in the dark or anything. I was just like running into the table. So I had this big old bruise. Now, when I poke on that, I feel pain, right? But I can't feel the pain of the bruise on your leg. I can't feel it. But I know that if your leg touched my leg right where that bruise is, I would feel it. And so when you have a emotional injury and somebody else comes in the room and theirs touches on yours, you feel your own pain. You don't feel their pain. It's your own pain. But you still know what that feels like. So I can see your bruise and recognize how that hurts every time you bump it, right? But I can't feel it unless you bump it into my bruise. And I need you, when you're working with those kind of things, because all of us are bruised. We all have these bruises. And that one is one of the reasons why we tend to have that empathetic part of us that works well in counseling. But we need to be able to talk it through and keep clear what's her pain and what's my pain. You know, so that I'm not working my issues through instead of the client working hers through. But I can be working mine through while the client works hers through. My bruise can be healing while her bruise is healing. But my job is to keep a little separation there and to remember the pain and to work with it and to get some treatment for my own and to get that kind of separated. So yes, you're right. A counselor, the clinical supervisor is not supposed to be your counselor. On the other hand, she's supposed to be, or he's supposed to be able to hear you and help you sort that out and to know you well enough to know some of the things that might be touching on it. Not the deep inside worst, but to know some of those things that might be triggers for you. And then you should be comfortable enough to be able to tell your supervisor about some of your triggers. Let's see, training would be, I think, listening to another's experience. So in group supervision at my center, we have opportunities to talk about our clients, and then we play if this were my client, what would I do kind of game. I think I might try this, or I think I might try that. And then listening to other people's experience and sharing our experience helps us to develop our sense of how these things work together. And just get a bigger and bigger tool bag. So the next person we meet in the consultation room, we might have a little more tools, a little more ways of working with that. And so just because it's still training whether the counselors are talking or the supervisor is talking. It's still training as you listen. So like my guy last night who brought in his dilemma, I can't send it back to her. We checked, her address has changed. I don't know what to do with this. I can't take it and what am I going to do with it? Now when you listen to that problem, you think, that's a little like, this, or maybe I would do this. And so you have to kind of get some experience, some vicarious experience from someone else. And that's a very valuable thing. How am I doing on time? Am I about out? 10 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna kind of run through these now and not take quite as much, not try to pull it out of you quite as hard. Sometimes we need a reality check. Has anybody, can you ever think of a time when you've experienced, or even in your internship, when you really wanted to go in and get a reality check? You know what I mean?
Like the client needs one?
No,
Or
you
I
need one as a
Oh,
counselor.
Yeah.
Yeah, like can you think about that and see if you can think of an example. How about when you feel unsuccessful? Like, I don't even know if I am cut out for this. I had I do LPC individual supervision by contract, and as well as group supervision, and have a supervision group for addiction specialists. Anyway, I had a young woman come in and she said, I don't know that I'm in the right business. That I'm really wondering if I'm in the right business because I have so much, she said, I feel like a hypocrite. I'm telling my clients how to go and use these tools to fix those cognitive distortions while I'm fighting with my own cognitive distortions. And I feel like I'm a hypocrite. Like I should have my own house cleaned before I show somebody else how to clean their house. And it bothered me all the time. And so I had to talk with her about that we're wounded healers. That the reason we can be healers is because we're wounded and we've healed. And we are healing, and we're in the process of healing. And you don't have to wait until you're completely healed of all your wounds to be a counselor. Otherwise, you'd never get there because life keeps wounding us. But we can relate to wounded people because we are aware of our own. And so, no, you don't have to have all your house in order before you're able to work with somebody. You do have to be aware of what the issues are, and you have to be working on them. And so I told my supervisee, start today and never give your clients a homework assignment, but what you put it in your bag and you work. And you may not finish them all, but you're going to have something that you're working on all the time to work through those things that you need to work through. And then you probably need to take that homework you're doing and consult with somebody, a mentor or a counselor. And me, to a certain extent. Okay. So,
I would categorize that as just continuous improvement.
yeah, absolutely, continuous
We gotta
improvement.
continue to improve, in our personal lives, our, professional lives, whatever we attempt to do, it's all about continuous improvement.
It is, and that phrase, continuous improvement, is a management phrase.
Yes, it is.
And it comes from another side
It
of
does.
management.
But
Yes, and it is
also
very
can relate
important.
to counseling as well.
Yes, it does,
As
absolutely.
improving as a counselor on
We're
things that you
constantly
need to
working forward. And you know what, I actually said this one time in a retreat where I was with colleagues and my supervisor, and if I had it to do again, I probably wouldn't have said it out loud. I sometimes say things out loud before I think them all the way through. But I said the problem, this field is full of, the thing about getting in a job with mental health is that you have to work with people who are not well and who are confused and who will often blame others and have really get lost in their feelings and get their feelings mixed up with their thoughts and really get lost, And then we have these patients. And if you as a counselor, if you don't work through your own stuff, you're going to end up quitting or you're going into administration. And sometimes that's some of the hardest people that we work for are the counselors who are close to their own stuff and therefore have risen up to the level of administration. So that's a whole other thing. So you just kind of watch out for those people because there's some people who are more twisted than you'd want to work with. So you have to be careful, and that's where we're going next. Oh, we have this unsuccessful thing. I had this colleague when I worked in the treatment center, rehab center. I had this colleague sitting with me one day in the medical records room, and she said, I am going to go and get me a job putting donuts in a bag. Real simple. Come to work, put donuts in the bag. take the change, and I go home. And I really didn't relate to her right then, because I was pretty new at it before I left that job. All I wanted was a job putting donuts in the bag. So we have to learn how to work through our burnout. Our burnout can be called compassion fatigue or secondary traumatization. All of those are the same idea. We get to the place where it's just too much of us. And a one-way river pretty soon runs dry. You're gonna have something running in. So if you're just running out all the time, there's nothing left to give. So you gotta somehow or another learn how to balance it and take some time to do simple things. Another thing that goes under consultation is being recognized and appreciated, because that has to be a one-on-one thing. I have this boss where I work at the university who, actually he's gone now, but so I can say it. Anyway, he used to come into every staff meeting and say, "You are the most wonderful people on the planet. You all do just an amazing job. People worked really hard this weekend." Well, okay, that's good to hear. That's okay. But it's not nearly as good to hear as, "Vanessa, I appreciated it when you stayed late when that client was in trouble. And you made a call, and then you just stayed there until that was settled. And that makes me know how committed you are and how glad I am that you're on my team." That's a whole big different thing than just making this general blanket statement about everyone. It's gotta be an individual thing, or pretty soon you hear that every staff meeting, and yeah, I get to business, But we need to make specific corrections and specific praises. So, to be recognized and appreciated, let me give you some of the training. How to develop a case conceptualization. You still use that word? Case conceptualization? Okay. How to develop one, because that's a really complicated